Uh, Here we go. Okay, how about now? I'm sorry, there's like three different buttons that you have to press to go live with this, and I always forget one of them. There's one button I always forget to press, so my apologies, guys. Um, I have really been looking forward to this particular YouTube live. I've got some great topics I think coming up. Well, I guess I could let you all decide if this is a great topic or not. I'm going to talk about several items for winter and a couple of things I've been learning recently. First off, thank you all for signing in and joining me. I always appreciate having you guys here. And I know there's some other OM folks doing a move to YouTube Live to today. So that was like, oh, really? So just is what it is. Thank you all for being here and supporting and helping me. I want you to know I've been doing a ton of work on my website. I now have my Grand India tour listed. It is I think 22-day tour for 3 different tiger reserves, and then Kaziranga for elephant, rhino, and Asiatic water buffalo. And I'm going to put a discount code for y'all. It'll be good for a week. And it's for, it'll be for, I think it's $500 off the cost of that trip. So if you sign up, that's one of my Black Friday deals. It's not in my newsletter. I worked a long time last night on this. So here, let me copy this code and stick it in the chat. So right there is your code for $500 off if you register in this week for my Grand India OM only, mastering large mammal and bird photography from a vehicle, because you're in a safari vehicle. So my workshops are getting more and more specific on the skills that I want you to walk away from, as well as capturing great images. So there's the code for, I will also put that in the notes for this YouTube Live, and it'll be effective until a week from today at midnight if anybody wants to join me. So there will only be 2 photographers per vehicle, and occasionally myself or VNOD, my local guide, will be in one of the vehicles. So for 2 rows, the max there would be 3 people total. So hope some of y'all would love to join me on that. It'll be an amazing trip. Okay, I have a variety of topics for today. And of course, you guys know I'm always interested in answering your questions as well. And what I'd like to start out with is photographing in the snow. We've not had snow here yet. I've only been below freezing a couple of times. Right now, I think it's 54. I think tonight we're going to get right at or a little below freezing. But I'll be honest, I love photographing in snow. I'm not going to get to do Yellowstone in winter this year, nor Grand Teton in winter, but I will tell you that is one of my most magical experiences, is photographing in wilderness snow. City snow, after it gets a day old, is gray and ugly and dirty. But there's something about snow in the wilderness that is breathtaking. I love the stillness and the quiet that you get with wilderness snow, the crunch as you walk through it, which, by the way, one of the tips is always watch your footsteps. Do not walk into your foreground or something you might want to photograph until you're sure that you're not going to back up. Okay. You don't want footsteps most of the time in your snow images. That is, don't rush to a spot and realize, oh, I need to be back. And then you've broken your fresh, pretty snow. I will tell you that the OM system gear, and with Sony's Zebra pattern, with those 2 cameras, and I think Panasonic, I've never had clients with Panasonic gear, so I don't talk about it much. Sorry. It's never been easier to nail your exposure using live highlight alerts. Okay. So the thing is, you don't want to underexpose your snow and then try to brighten it, because then it'll be a gray, muddy mess. There'll be no detail in your snow. If you overexpose snow and you try to pull the exposure down, you just end up with what I call a white, muddy mess. There's no, like in beautiful, snowy pictures, depending on what's in focus, there's this nice crystalline structure. You can see, you can see the clarity, the blue and the white sometimes when it's exposed correctly. When you under or overexpose and you try to fix, you just lose that. So You really want to make sure, guys, when you're photographing in snow, that you are nailing that exposure right off the bat. And let's talk about like photographing bison. That was my cover shot for this YouTube live. You may remember it was a freak. I mean, we had hoarfrost on the bison in October, early October, which is not something you normally expect. So I told my clients how lucky we were to have that. And of course, one of them was from Australia. So it was very unique for him. And, you know, bison are so dark. And the snow, even with an overcast morning like we had, the sun later started coming out. That tonal range difference is pretty dramatic. So if we, in any situation, whether you've got, you know, a trumpeter swan, whether you've got bison, whatever, if we nail our exposure for the snow, we will most likely nail our exposure for our subject, unless you're shooting bison midday on snow, on sun-covered snow. That dramatic range is brutal, except for maybe some types of black and white or high key. You really got to work good light on snow. You can't afford to mess around with your exposure on snow. You really want to nail it to start. So one of my tips is really pay attention to the quality of light. When I'm photographing in snow, I like sun early in the morning, late in the day. I don't like sun after that. Once it starts getting, once it gets true daytime, so once we've left golden hour, it doesn't take long in northern latitudes for that sun to get at a high elevation at certain times of the year or higher, enough to where it begins to present some exposure or compositional challenges because of that tonal range difference. So let me encourage you, start early, stay out later, work that overcast day. Do not be afraid of the higher ISOs. I have talked about dealing with high ISO so many times that you don't need to fear that. So I know for me, right, one of the things that I look for is beautiful light. And I love overcast light in the snow. And you guys know for wildlife, I will happily shoot up to ISO 25,600. No problem. Well, I would say becoming a master at reading natural light is even more important in the snow than it is on neutral colored foregrounds, backgrounds, midgrounds, whatever the animal is on, birds, whatever. Or if you're doing landscape photography, it doesn't matter. Learning to gauge what light is going to be conducive to photographing in the snow. And no matter how low the light or how bright the light is, we still want detail in our snow. And that's why nailing your exposure is so important. One of the things I've decided, I've been contemplating, you know, my own system mentorship program, part 1, part 2, part 3. Part 1's master your system. I've got that down, doing videos. People are going through it. Like I know at least 2 or 3 of my mentorship program participants are in here, and I think it's the most effective thing I do in terms of teaching. Part 3 is post-processing. My first group is going through that, and I think they realize how dramatically different this mentorship program is from typically buying a $99 video set. But part 2 is fieldcraft, and I have been trying to wrap my head around how to do that. And what I've decided is the most effective way is workshops, but before the workshop, you may have anywhere from 2 to 4 videos that you watch about specific fieldcraft skills related to the topic of my workshop. So many people just offer photo tours. Hey, I'm going to take you to Costa Rica. Okay, great. But what are you learning? Oftentimes you don't learn anything. And that does not bring me the most joy. I want to see your photography get better. Okay. And so I'm going to create, and I am creating a series of workshops. Like I'm going to do one mastering winter photography, because photographing in Yellowstone in the snow, or I know George is in Montana and Anthony's in Newfoundland. Several of y'all are from up north, you know. Nailing your photography at minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit in snow with the wind blowing is extremely different than nailing your birds in flight shots on the Texas coast in October when it's 60 degrees. That's a very different experience. There's very different field craft, very different planning, very different equipment considerations. There's a lot of different things you really have to take into account. Okay. So other tips, so not walking out into your scene for landscape photography, okay? making sure your feet and hands and head stay warm. I can tell you that when your feet, your head, or your hands start to get cold, it's probably not long before your core is going to get cold. And I did a YouTube video a couple weeks back about Christmas gifts. I've been testing the Aurora heated vest. Oh, there's my baby doll. Chemo easy, Chemo. Sorry to interrupt, guys, but that is my sweetheart right there from Curitiba, Brazil. I've been testing it because I was wearing 3 layers, and I would even get these thinner coats for my second layer. But once you put 3 straps around your thumb, your arms get a little thick. You know, it's kind of like what's that movie, Christmas Story, where he can't bend his arms or his legs. So I found this battery-powered heated vest, and the battery pack is maybe like this. And I thought, oh, is that going to be digging in my side when I lay down, kneel down? I don't even know it's there. And listen, I'll admit, guys, I'm a bit princess in the pea when it comes to bed, clothing. Like, I want durability, comfort. I don't like having distractions when I photograph. I want to be locked and loaded for what's going on. So that keeps my torso warmer, right? So now, well, I see your question about the shutter button. It's designed for the waterproofness. It's not about gloves for them. It's about waterproofness. So Anthony brought up that the shutter release. Listen, a lot of the buttons, particularly on the OM2, are harder to get to, all because it's about the water protection. So I'm going to do a video. My favorite gloves are the Heat Company. And I have a set that's older. I've worn them so much, I've worn them out. They're sending me a new pair. I'm going to do a video on those. And I can tell you they were designed for the Austrian military. And it's the only gloves I wear when photographing in cold weather. And I'll go over the video how to shoot in gloves. Okay. Even I shoot with so they have a liner and then they have a shell. And the shell's like you can flip it open. I can press the shutter button with the shell on, but I will do a video and teach y'all photographing in the snow. You have to be more patient, and you really have to get to know your gear. And when I say know your gear, so here's an OM3 that I bought a grip for. By the way, I love this grip. Love this grip. So you really have to get to know it. So for me, the shutter button's in a weird spot on the OM3 for wildlife. I would never use this for wildlife, but it has become my primary landscape deal. So getting to where you know your buttons so well, and the buttons on the OM3 are in a different spot a little bit back here than they are on the Mark II and the Mark I. So mastering those butt locations. Also in gloves. So normally I like to use the directional pads for making changes to certain things, but the joystick is often a little easier than the directional pad. But I recommend, you know how you can press the directional pad and it functions as a button, okay? It functions as a button. Well, I turned that function off so I can't inadvertently press it in. And that helps a lot when using shells or gloves for photographing. So the coldest I photographed is -42 Fahrenheit. I was out for an hour and a half with those gloves. Now, I will say after an hour and a half, even with great gear, my finger got, last 15 minutes, I could hardly tell I was pressing the shutter button. I mean, that's pretty chilly, right? So I would say that the biggest thing I would, also give you tips about snow, okay? The deeper the snow that you're going to go out into, you can actually, try to settle into it a little bit and let it provide some stability. You'll often see me, I have an image somewhere that Lisa Langell took of me doing bison. I actually sat back in the snow. It's thermal. It provides some warmth. It keeps you lower for wildlife photography, gets you better angles, and it's going to help provide some additional stability. All right. So my outer layer has to be 100% waterproof. 100% water and wind proof. That's going to make a huge difference. And guys, great gear like that is not cheap. I'll be honest, most of the stuff at REI doesn't fit the bill. Most of it. Some of it does. In fact, my outer layer of pants actually comes from there. But And Arc'teryx is good. It's very expensive, but most stuff that really does keep you dry is more expensive. So great gear so that you're not worried about cold. I will also tell you one of the biggest differences. I have a pair of boots. And by the way, on my gear page on my website, I am still, and I've got more to list. I have a section for cameras, lenses. I have gift cards on my website now. You can buy gift cards or have your friends and family buy you gift cards. Let's be honest. That's what we want. And then I have clothing and other accessories. I have a FotoPro section. I'm going to continually add to that for things that I have tested and I trust. You will not see something on there just to make money. I don't do that, guys. You know me. I'm bluntly honest. If something pisses me off, I will let you know that I don't like it, and you won't see me with an affiliate link to it, okay? And I'll have some items on there for which I don't even have affiliate links just because I want you to know what I use and where you can get it, all right? I think the little Hot Hands disposable hand warmers, which one thing about the Heat Company's gloves, they have a pouch on the liner and a pouch on the shell. If you don't put that in there, you will notice a difference. Like if you put it in one day and you forget the next, you'll tell a difference. When they're in there, you don't necessarily go, wow, my hands are warm. But I can tell you with the toe ones, I don't use the whole insole. I use the toe ones because what I find is my boots are rated to -70 something. And if my toes start getting chilled, like one day on the last day of a workshop in Yellowstone, a client asked to borrow some. Well, I thought I had extras. So the last day I didn't have them. And I was like, you know what? I can tell I don't have them. You don't sit there and go, man, my toes aren't cold. You don't think about it, but you're comfortable. So I highly encourage using those. And I know they're disposable. And so it's one more thing we're throwing away. The problem is the warm ones that stay really warm, the fuel lit ones, you can't fly with those. So if you don't fly, no problem. Get the fuel-powered ones. They still make me a little nervous. You're having to deal with fuel. Then there's the battery-powered ones. I've tried two different brands. Conjica, as Easy would say, or I would say to Easy. Not good. I don't like them. Okay? So I think it's important that the more you stay warm when you're photographing the snow, the more you can focus. Watch your footing. I had a lady slip on ice and break her hip. So what I would say is photographing in snow and or ice is always stay under control. Don't let the excitement of a moose or a bison or pine marten or whatever it might be, bighorn sheep, deer, whatever it is you're going after, safety and solid footing first while enjoying the moment. One great thing about our gear, we go down in the snow. I don't worry about, I'll set my other camera and lens in the snow. I make sure that I don't dig my lens into the snow to try to get snow on the front element. Another tip about photographing in snow, actual falling snow, do not point your lens up. So we're not photographing birds way up. We're going to photograph them level. We're not pointing our lens up. Okay. We don't want that snow falling on our lens. Another tip about photographing in the snow is that's the Mark III. If you guys know on the Mark II and the Mark I, the little box or that little window right below the electronic viewfinder, that is the sensor for your electronic viewfinder switch. So that when I put my eye up, take it away, that little window is what senses something coming to it. If you get snow in there, rain, drops, mud, whatever, and you wonder why your view is not switching back and forth. So when we bring our camera to our face in cold weather, we don't go and breathe out on it as we bring it up. You don't want to fog that over. You don't want to fog your viewfinder. I have noticed that while the camera itself, we don't fog up inside, you can still fog up in your viewfinder a little bit. So you got to be careful with that. And of course you can fog the front element of your lens when you're in cold weather. So one tip is if you're one of those that insists on having the room warm, I turn the heater off when I'm in Yellowstone winter, truly, because I'm going to put on 3 layers in the morning. And I do not want it 69 degrees in that room when I'm putting on 3 layers, because then you sweat and then you go outside, you're already wet between your base layer and your body, and that's not a good way to start the day. So if you're going to do that, keep your room warmer than you should. Put your gear in the bathroom, close the door. If you're going to shower, Take it out of there, but keep it well away from the heater. Okay. Those are, I think, some of the most important kind of basic items about photographing in the snow. I would also tell you that it can be easy, I think, to not pay as much attention to composition in snow, because for many people, they're not used to it. Anthony's from Newfoundland. Yeah, he's seen plenty of snow, right? George is up in Montana. He's seen plenty of snow. But when you're new to snow, you don't think about the reflectivity of snow as much as those who live in it. So snow reflects a lot of light. It's a giant reflector of light. So learning, if you got a dark subject in front of you and you got sun on the background, but not on your subject, that's going to be a brutally difficult, pleasing composition. Brutally difficult, pleasing composition. I would say you got to watch your backgrounds and your elements. It's like being in a tropical forest and shooting a subject in a tree. You really got to watch for hot spots, right, where the light's coming through the canopy. On the snow, you really got to watch for reflectivity of light. It can really mess up backgrounds, the side of the image, whatever. You can take great advantage of it, but you really got to lock in, because at times there's so much snow, you just think you're looking at a bunch of white, but are you looking at the same tonality of white? Okay. That's where wildlife portraits, like half of a bison's head, might be the shot instead of the entire animal. Like when you got a goose or a duck or a swan that slept overnight and there's a bunch of snow on it. Sometimes the cool shot's the whole body. Sometimes the cool shot is showing the reality of how that snow is accumulated. Because that eye, when they open it, if they're sleeping, got their head tucked in, they open that eye, they got all this frost or snow or whatever all over their body. Don't think you always have to show the whole animal in that situation. All right. I would say also, I tend to change lenses in a lot of weather conditions. If it is snowing, I want to really be cognizant that I'm pointing my body down, or that I'm doing it in the vehicle. With snow falling, you really got to be careful about changing lenses. That's one reason I carry so many bodies, carry at least 3 camera bodies on a trip. In snow, I really don't want to do it outside if it's snowing. I'll tell you, I think another very important tip about photographing in the snow, the bigger the flakes, the more challenging it is for autofocus. If you have snow falling, you almost always have to turn off subject detection. And much of the time, I'm relying purely on focus peaking. Purely on focus peaking. I'm going to manually focus. I'm going to use that. That focus peaking to inform me of where my focus is. And I'm going to go past the subject. I'm going to bring focus peaking back on the subject. I have found if I go straight to the subject and shoot, that it's a little less accurate than when I go past it and bring it to the subject. And it will show you the depth of field of that. So you're going to want to position. Do you want more in focus, from the eye back, or more? Do you want the eye in the middle of the focal range, right? Or do you want it more in the front? So you're going to use focus peaking, and you're going to take a burst. You're going to shoot, and then you don't just shoot continually. Then you're going to reset it. If you just set it once and shoot, what if you're off? So I don't like leaving that to chance. So I redo my manual focus quite a bit. It's why I just leave all of my autofocus settings, because I do back button focus. Every focus mode when I program a custom mode is CAF plus MF. On the OM1, the OM1 Mark II, the OM3, CAF plus MF, because I do back button focus. So I have CAF, single autofocus on one button, and I can manually focus whenever I need to. That, I think, are some of the most important tips for when I'm photographing in the snow. Also, as you're walking out, like I will walk out near the edge of a river, before you put a lot of weight on your front foot, you got to make sure that it's in a good spot. Move efficiently, but cautiously. I really find that I'm very safety conscious for my clients. I'm more so in the snow, but I'm not afraid to go try something or do something. But I'm always taking into account safety, good footing, and the good thing is usually if the snow's very deep and you fall over, you kind of just sink into the snow. I walked out into some extremely deep snow over my hip and almost had to swim back to my clients. None of them wanted to follow me out, but I almost had to swim through the snow to get back because it was so deep, even coming back. But I want to do what I need to do to get the shot like that. I'll be obviously if I'm by myself, I'm going to be a little more cautious than. I wonder if that's really true. That statement might need some self-reflection. So I hope that those are some tips as snow comes up. Also, don't have your gear. Like if you have snow at home, man, I do not allow it to keep me from going out. I try to stay ready because here when a snow comes, it doesn't stay long. So boom, I want to get out and get those shots. So I really kind of want to help y'all because it's winter, it's coming up. I love photographing in the snow, but not nailing people's exposure, relying on autofocus when it's snowing. Those are really going to mess you up, and not paying attention to contrast or dynamic range, tonal range when you're photographing. Those are going to trip you up. But you can capture some absolutely stunning shots. You can rest assured I will return with some photographing in winter workshops. I'm having surgery on December 11th for 3 hernias, and I don't want to risk trying too much in January when I come back. So that's what it is. I didn't want to risk a slip and ripping open. Just couldn't do it. So those will come back, and I will probably spend, and they'll be my own, and I'll spend more time in the snow coach and still do Lamar Valley. But it's an awesome experience. And Grand Teton in winter right after Thanksgiving. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So the next thing I want to talk about is ISO. Okay. People fear ISO for some reason. They are worried about it. For those that have been to my mentorship program or watch my YouTube for any length of time, ISO is nothing to fear. Couple of caveats to that. You don't need to be at a higher ISO than necessary, although sometimes I am, and I don't stress about it because of DxO Pure Raw. By the way, my newsletter that came out this morning, I have my discount codes for DxO Pure Raw. If you buy through my affiliate link, they're having a great Black Friday sale. So if you've been thinking about DxO Pure Raw, DxO Photo Lab, Nick Collection, this week is the week to buy. Okay. And obviously, I really appreciate the support through my affiliate links. I don't want to be a constant salesman, but if I don't make a living doing this, then I can't bring y'all hopefully entertaining and educational materials. Well, let's talk about ISO per genre of photography, because I get questions about this all the time, and I really want people to have comfort when photographing wildlife. So wildlife photography, ISO range. Here, let me type this in the chat too while I say it. ISO for wildlife. Y'all ready? 200 to 25,600. Now, I rarely shoot ISO 800 or lower for wildlife because normally that means the light is so bright because I'm anticipating action, so I keep my shutter speed up. When I go lower, it's because I know the animal's sitting still, or I'm trying to do something creative, like in panning, or maybe I want to try to shoot the bird's head in focus, but I want blur in the wings. I did some of that with macaws in Brazil a couple of years ago. I need to do more of that. I really like when you get that. So like I might go to a shutter speed of 1/320th for a bird in flight. And what I'm hoping for is that the head is sharp, but the rest of the body's got movement blur to it. When you're in an area with a lot of activity and the light is right, it's fun to experiment with things like this. The folks that were just on my Mastering Bird in Flight workshop will tell you that we did a lot of that. That was probably the most effective change I've seen in any workshop I've ever done as a group. The improvement in the images. When I do image critiques, I was blown away. I was like, whoa, this is incredible. So I would say that far and away is where I see a lot of improvement. When people are learning their gear well enough to experiment and play around. So ISO for wildlife, 200 to 25.6, rarely 800 or below. I go there if the light is suitable, if there's enough light for me to do what I need to do. What shutter speed will I reasonably push my 150 to 400? I will comfortably drop as low as 1/50th of a second. Even standing, I can do that. Now, if I'm panning, I'm going to go lower because I'm intentionally trying to have movement. But if I'm trying to nail a still shot, but I know I can get away with that. If it's the 50 to 200, all right, oh, I might push it to 1/8 of a second, no problem. Now, that means the animal is not moving at all. I don't do that just willy-nilly. You know, no problem shooting wildlife portraits of an animal at 1/320th of a second with either long lens. No problem, no problem. But I know my ability on hand holding. You may or may not be able to go that low. You need to practice. So say you got a great blue heron and you know sometimes they're not hunting, they just don't move. Well, take your long lens, zoom in, and see what can you do? Standing, kneeling with your elbow on your knee. What can you reasonably do with your shutter speed? Okay, so that's my wildlife ISO range. That's no problem. My landscape, right? So I'm going to type this in the comments too to help you. My ISO landscape, I occasionally will do the interpolative of L80 or L100. And I'll on a tripod, 800 is my max, absolute max, normally lower. 200 is the native resolution. So let me type this in 200 ISO native resolution on the top bodies. Okay. That's my go-to for handheld landscape. So ISO handheld landscape. Let me type this in for you. Okay. It's going to be 200 to 1600. I give myself a little bit more flexibility on that. I prefer not to. And I will tell you that even with OM system and our incredible image stabilization landscape, I just prefer to be on a tripod. And I'll talk about an awesome combo when I'm talking about Christmas gifts here in a little bit. But I way just prefer landscape on a tripod. It allows me to slow down, to contemplate. Sometimes you got to hurry. You know, when the Aurora Borealis popped up here the other night, man, I was hoofing it around my property because I wasn't expecting it to show up. Even the Aurora Borealis app said it wasn't good for my region when I could see it a little bit with the naked eye. It still said it wasn't good for where I was at, and it was great for where I live, right? So ISO tripod used for landscape. Okay. ISO night sky. Now there's such a variety now of night sky. So I'm referring to Milky Way, single shots, or stacking. So if I'm stacking, I'll generally go with a little lower ISO, but I don't want my stars to start blurring. But ISO for night sky, including live composite for star trails. Okay. This is going to depend greatly upon how much moonlight is hitting your foreground. So ISO 800 all the way up to 6400. Okay. Yeah. I would say that ISO night sky 800 to 6400, depending upon the amount of moon. And one of the key things to look for, because I'm not changing my shutter speed. Your shutter speed is normally dependent upon your focal length. I'm not changing my aperture. I'm usually shooting wide open. So ISO is my primary change for exposure for night sky. Okay. But you want color in your stars. If all your stars are white, you have overexposed your image. And live highlights in your live histogram are not useful here. You have to chimp. So you heard it from Lee. You have to chimp with night sky images. You have to chimp with flash images. And you need to chimp with landscape images, usually 30 seconds or longer. Okay. That's when you chimp for exposure. All right. ISO macro with flash. That range, okay, that range is going to be 200 to 800. Normally the 200 to 400. ISO without, or let me see, ISO macro without flash. So this is either with a macro lens or super telephoto. Oh, Elizabeth asked this question. Liz, sorry, I know Liz. What's chimp mean? This is chimping. Chimping is normally referring to people looking at the back of their camera to see if their images are good instead of watching for great shots. So Chimping is looking at the back of your camera for your histogram and your highlight alerts to make sure your exposure is correct. I don't chimp for sharpness. I don't chimp for composition. Hell, I'm looking at the scene with my eye. I don't want to chimp, see if I got the moment because I'm missing stuff. I can chimp on my screen at home on this setup with 3 screens. I can tell if an image is sharp. Well, I on a little tiny screen, I don't care about those things. Okay. Have the confidence that you got it and just keep shooting other things. That'll really impress those around you when you, why aren't you looking? I got it. I nailed it. Right. So my ISO for macro without flash is normally going to be 200 up to maybe 3,200. Because I'm normally shooting tight. I'll sometimes use I like a tripod with my long lens for dragonflies. I will tell you, one of the things I'm excited, one of the reasons I bought the 50-200 is I think I can do more handheld flash photography with this and still have plenty of working room for dragonflies. I will let you know. I've started a mastering or introduction to macro photography workshop in the Rio Grande Valley of South Texas, where for those of you that want to learn macro, it'll be perfect. It's better weather. It is tons of dragonflies, butterflies. We'll hit the North American Butterfly Center. I mean, we got lots of great spots to learn macro photography. So that's ISO macro without flash. Okay. Let's talk wildlife ISO for wildlife environmental shots. So trying to talk and spell here. ISO wildlife environmental shots. That's going to be 200 to maybe 2,500. So in other words, that's with a wide angle lens where the animal is a small part of the scene. Now, if it's a bird, which I don't, it's normally going to be a bird that's sitting still normally. Usually if you have an ISO wildlife environmental shot of a bird in flight, it's just because you didn't have enough focal length to get tighter and it becomes that, right? But intentional wildlife environmental shots, you're normally using a 12-100, maybe the 50-200. You know, it's just different. It's just different. So that should help you understand the ISO range. And I live within those ranges. If you looked at my Lightroom, and I have started culling some of my older trips, some like 2023, 2022, before I had Photo Mechanic to cull efficiently, where I didn't cull much. Man, like I took 2023 Amazon workshop trip. I think I took it from 16,000 images to like 4,000 at most. And that might be a 12-day trip, right? I'm really cutting back hard on that. So I want you to understand how ISO doesn't need to be something you feared. You know, I used to stack night sky images to help get better quality. You know, with DxO Pure Raw, that's all I used on my star trail, my Aurora Borealis star trail shot. That's all I used. I didn't do can't do stacking. And of course, it used the built-in noise reduction in the camera, but still with DxO Pure Raw, the chrominance noise, luminance noise, no problem. Okay. And so quick intro for chrominance noise, that is random colors, specks of color where there shouldn't be. Luminance noise is when you see that little stippling pattern. And that's just because pixels get slightly different values. Okay. Slightly different values. So I think that's important that y'all keep that in mind. All right. So that's ISO. That's my ranges for using them. You know, it'd be kind of cool if you could set some limits in your camera to where when you program a custom mode, and some of y'all are going to respond, well, you can. No, that's only for auto ISO. Trust me. That's only auto ISO, which y'all know is just pure crap. Pure crap. Okay. So let's talk for a minute. I mean, it's Christmas time, right? And I don't know about y'all. Y'all can comment down here too, right? Yeah, I mentioned earlier, DxO's having a Black Friday sale right now. You know, Topaz, if you decide to use Topaz. And I did a video comparison for my post-processing mentorship group where I took, and no, I won't share that to YouTube because they paid for that, a comparison between Topaz, DxO, Lightroom's denoise and enhance, and regular Lightroom, and still the winner is DxO. Okay, still the winner. But if you want to see all the details, sign up for my next post-processing mentorship program. The mentorship programs, the registration will open January 1. So for those of you that want to participate, January 1 will be my opening date for registration. So it's Christmas time, which means what I was talking about is when you're a nature photographer, it's hard for people to buy you gifts, right? Because they don't know what you need. And oftentimes if they do buy something, it's not the best quality. It's not what you really need. So I brought a few of my items ranging in price from pretty small, like great stocking stuffer, up to, holy crap, you bought me that. You must really love me kind of stuff, right? So let me share with y'all some of the things. Some of these I have on my website. Some I don't yet. I'm still working on the website. But one of the things I love, y'all know I carry 8 batteries per camera body. I'm not saying you need to, but guess what? I've never missed a shot because I ran out of batteries in a long, long time. I love the Nomadic 3 battery holder. It's magnetic, okay? So it stays shut. The batteries don't slide out. And what I use these for, when I have a battery that needs to be charged, it just goes in backwards like that. So I can take a quick glance and oh, this one needs to be charged. So if you've got somebody that wants a good stocking stuffer for you, the Nomadic brand, N-O-M, oops, let's see, is that going to focus on it? Nomadic brand, N-O-M-A-T-I-C. I don't have these on my website yet. I'll get them there. Love them. 3-pack, holds batteries, and it slides in like this in my camera bag, not taking up much space. And I don't like having loose batteries flopping around in my bag. So that is a nice little stocking stuffer for people to get you. All right. Another nice stocking stuffer is the Tenba, T-E-N-B-A. I love their different tech pouches. So you notice here's my battery charging one. I've got the dual charger right here. I have I love Anchor USB devices. They're very powerful. I need to they've got a newer one that's even more powerful than this one. This has 3 USB-A, 3 USB-C plugs. And then I can put on the other side all the cords. You will notice that the cords I use are those that come with the camera, so that if there's a firmware update while I'm traveling, I can use that. And this is the power cord right here for the Anchor device. Okay, so look at that. All my battery charging stuff in one bag. Perfect stocking stuffer. Okay, maybe an Anchor, a good Anchor powered device would be a good stocking stuffer. They get up more around $100, but some of y'all have people stocking your stuffings. They got a little more money than some. You know what I mean? Another great resource for photographers, and my grandfather was a professor of reading, so books have always been very important in my life. Michael Freeman's The Photographer's Eye. He's primarily what I would call a travel photographer. I love all of his books. Michael Freeman, The Photographer's Eye. I mean, he's got great information in here, and it's not onerous reading. In other words, he'll have a tip or a section, photos, and just right to the point writing. He's got several books. They've been out for a while. You can probably buy used ones. I love his stuff. He's travel and street photographer. Outstanding work, beautiful work. He does do some wildlife and landscapes, but most of his tips are very applicable. Most of his trips. Yes, Deb, it is being recorded. Another book I found not long ago, when I was working on my bachelor's degree in geography, my specialty was cartography and GIS. And Dr. Greg Plum was a professor, and he heard I'd gone to Big Bend and loved it. And he asked me if I would be a graduate assistant on a big project in Big Bend. It's how I got to go on every trail and every road. And so we did the vegetation map for Big Bend. Gosh, this would have been back in the late 80s, early 90s. And he had a book on waterfalls of the Pacific Northwest. Well, the other day I was in a book in Jackson Hole, or a bookstore, and I saw this Waterfall Atlas of the United States. And I went, oh my gosh, Dr. Plum. And he has literally, if you like to photograph waterfalls, the way he's done this is outstanding. So here's Idaho. And look what he even has. He has a description of the most scenic waterfalls. Okay, he tells you all of them, but he has a map showing you a scenic rating. So you're not wasting your time going to one. If Dr. Plum says it's not very scenic, I mean, he's been to these waterfalls. And then he has more pages describing some of the bigger ones, more important ones. So Illinois, which has 30 of accessible ones. Let's see how many of the most, bless his heart. He doesn't even have a most scenic listing, I don't think, for Illinois. Probably not a surprise. So he covers all the states, right? If you want to photograph waterfalls, what a great resource right here. Waterfall Atlas. You don't have to waste your time going to one that may or may not be worth photographing. So that is a great book. Again, may not fit in your stocking, but not costing people an arm and a leg. Oh my. Here is an awesome stocking stuffer, Cole beanies. This is the only beanie brand I wear. When I get a brand new one, it really needs to be about 40 degrees or colder. Otherwise, it's too warm. These are the thickest, retained their, I think I finally retired the first one after 5 years. I am impressed with their warmth. The only downside is it does reduce, it's so warm, so thick, it does make hearing a little more difficult. It does drop the sound volume some. But I tell you what, when you see I don't have built-in thermal features on top of my head, this is far and away the best beanie I've ever owned of all the different ones I've owned. Cold, they're like 20-something bucks. They usually sell these at REI. I do have an affiliate link up on my website. They have multiple colors. So, you don't want a bright orange or bright blue for wildlife photography. But unless you might want the orange one if you're photographing on federal lands where there's hunting. But here, absolute perfect stocking stuffer for you. Highly recommend that. Another thing I really recommend are these different Nat Geo. They're like waterproof and tear-proof maps. So I like to get them as specific as possible. They have national park ones, which may or may not be detailed enough for a good backpacking trip. But for what most people are doing, the nice thing is you're not going to tear them. They're waterproof, tear-proof, so you can have them with you in a variety of conditions. These are great stocking stuffers, guys. Great stocking stuffers to tell people, like if you're trying to plan a trip on your own, or even you can ride on them. So it'd be great to make a note. Hey, these are some of the places we stopped to photograph. I definitely like these. So I'm very happy with how this works. I use these all the time. I love them. Okay. All right. When I am photographing, you guys know that there's only one camera strap I will use. I do not like any of the others. And if you do, awesome, great. But you haven't fiddle-farted around with all the others out in the cold or out in the rain, or you haven't had clients that have had to ask you for help a million times, like on that damn Peak Design quick release. I seriously, I couldn't hate a camera strap more than that Peak Design with those stupid with that little plastic quick disconnect. Mother of God, I hate everything that chooses to be, to quote Michael Scott. So you guys know I'm a Black Rapid guy. Okay, they don't have ambassadors. I've asked. They don't have an affiliate program. I do have links to affiliate links through Amazon and whatnot. But there's the sport. You got to have the sport so it snaps under your arm to keep it from sliding. The strap alone is around $90-something. So it could be for those of you that got some people with some money in your family, tell them you want a Black Rapid strap to go in your stocking, right? They have the single. I have the double. It's the Breathe Light, so it's thinner. That way, if I have two camera bodies, the weight is evenly distributed on my shoulders, not on my neck. And you guys know you got to add that Arca clamp quick release. You don't want to screw this directly into a body or lens. It takes too damn long. I hate when clients have the strap, but they don't have this, and they want me to help them with something. They start to unscrew this, and I'm like, oh, dear God, we do not have time for that, right? So I like to be able to quickly disconnect and reconnect to my camera strap. I know this is more expensive. This is the Kirk Enterprise clamp, and you can't get these on Amazon. You can't get these on where I have affiliate links. You can only get them off the Kirk Enterprise website. They're 50-something bucks. They're American made. The Chinese knockoffs are thicker and bigger. I want something small because I don't want it taking up a lot of space, and I want to be able to quickly attach to my camera lens. So we're using that built-in Arca Swiss foot for big lenses. You connect to that, or for a camera body, I'm going to connect directly to the Arca Swiss plate. I know a couple of these devices don't look normal, and I'll talk about them here in a minute. But I can either attach directly to that. I can attach directly to the handle on the camera. Whatever, long lenses attached to lens, short lenses attached to the camera body. So Black Rapid Sport, Black Rapid Breathe Slim Dual, hands down my favorite camera straps of all. Never have a problem with them. They got the locking connectors here. You just crank the crap out of this. Terry asked this: do I have a link for the Swiss Arca on your site? This particular item, they don't sell through anything where I can get an affiliate link. I will put this on my website to the link for this product. And I don't know if I have it up there. Look under my Black Rapid strap section. I may already have it in there. If I don't, I will put it on there because I don't mind spending extra money for the product I want. What I do is maybe every 3 months, I just crank the crap out of this. I never need this coming off this. Plain and simple. Okay. So that's a great gift idea to tell people in your family. Now, getting a little more expensive, but still a great stocking stuffer size is the Crucial hard drives. They now make this in 8 terabytes. Okay. So to give you an idea, here's a pad of Post-it notes, 8 terabytes. Here is the 12 to 2.0 lens I'll talk about in a minute. Okay. Crucial X10 is the fastest. Okay. X10 is the fastest. And I've got this network attached storage that's 24 terabytes, but it's a little slower operating. I am going to move my entire Lightroom catalog of 1 million images, which I'm going to cull down some, to a few of these. Then I'll use the network attached storage as one of my backups. So I will be able to take my entire catalog everywhere I go. Now, you definitely got to have a backup in case for some reason those get stolen. I will guard these with my life. They will never go in my check-on bags. They'll go in my carry-on or my pocket. These will never be out of my reach. Okay. But they have them from 1 terabyte to 4, 6, and 8. 8 terabytes in that size. And the 8 terabyte now, Black Friday sale, I have a link for this on my website. I think right now, I just ordered an 8 terabyte for $384 for 8 terabytes in that size. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Okay. Now, Elizabeth asked, is this, hold on, are you asking if this, yeah. So Elizabeth asked, is this the same as the X rotator? So you guys know, let me grab this so I can show you. So I do not like when I'm shooting on a tripod, and I'll talk about this tripod here in a minute. You guys know when I'm shooting on a tripod, to do vertical shots, I don't like having to loosen the head and do that. It can be hard to get it level. It's a pain dealing with the dials and the knobs. I just don't like that. Doesn't matter what tripod I have. It's a personal thing, okay? I don't like that. Let me extend the legs on this so that I can show y'all how this works. I'm going to do a YouTube video on this device at some point in the near future, but let's talk about this, okay? So I had the Atoll D, which I loved in a lot of ways. No, the Speedy Locker, Elizabeth, on my camera strap, that is an Arca Swiss clamp from Kirk Enterprises, so it's different. It will work with the X rotator, and I'll show y'all what the X rotator is in a minute. Okay. So this would attach to my camera body, and I could loosen this device, and boom, I could rotate my camera vertical, horizontal, no problem. Okay. But the thing about this big ring on the Atoll D is it would block the lens button, and it made it harder to get your finger to those two front buttons, which I don't use for a variety of reasons, but I love it. I love it. But there were a couple of obstacles to it. Well, FotoPro, which I'm an ambassador for them, but I ordered this. I paid money for this. I didn't want to ask them. They've sent me 2 tripods, and they're sending me a video tripod. So, you know, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth, so to speak. So I paid for this. And that way you guys know I'm not always showing y'all free stuff. Very few things do I get for free. And I let people know you can send it to me for free, but I'm still going to be honest because y'all deserve that. The X rotator, as you can see, takes up a lot less space. It's a quarter of the size of the Atoll D. Where the Atoll D is a full circle, this is a quarter circle. And it attaches to your camera. So I have the grip on the OM3. Then I screwed the X rotator into the grip. You need an adapter. You need to make it 1/4 inch size. And then I put the RZ3 quick release from FotoPro on here. So all I have to do to put my, let me spin my tripod around. So all I have to do to attach this to my tripod, here, click, I'm locked in. So the X rotator, there's this one knob right here that I tested with gloves and I like. Now I'm shooting vertical. No problem. I don't have to take my camera off my tripod, move it around. I can just spin from horizontal to vertical, boom, lock it in, and I'm shooting either way. And it takes up a lot less space. It does not block the lens button. It does not block buttons on the front. It doesn't block anything. It might, and then the RZ quick release has a large button that, no problem with gloves, that you press. Whoops. I don't have that locked down like I should. There we go. Okay. I made a mistake. I did not lock this down when I did that. So now I have the RZ3 quick release that I just snap onto my tripod, and I have the X Rotator 75. It's the smaller. There's an X Rotator 95, X Rotator 75. So I love that. I want to be able to shoot quick like this. Boom. See how easy that is? And it's not in the way of the LFN button. Okay. So love it. I like the Atoll D. I like this better, and it's cheaper. It's not quite half the price. It's smaller, it's lighter. You know, I wish they'd have come out with it earlier. I could have used it. I'll keep the Atoll D, and I may even put it on camera body to use, but I like that. I like that. I like combining the X rotator with the RZ3. I would not put this on a wildlife body. I could use this for wildlife environmental shots because it's not going to be in the way. It's not going to be a problem for that. I can still get to focus. I wouldn't use the 7-14. If you're using a 7-14 for wildlife environmental, you're in the Galapagos Islands. That's maybe a few other spots where the wildlife is afraid of you. So I'm in love with this new combo. I'll give you a hint. I have a travel tripod that I am no longer afraid to recommend. That is the FotoPro Origin Plus travel tripod. I think it was Elizabeth or Sue sent me an email this morning asking me, one of y'all, I can't remember, asking me about this tripod, about a travel tripod that was small but not crap, to quote me a lot. I used this tripod, travel tripod, with the 150-400 with an OM2 on it for 500 millimeter waterfall shots, micro landscapes where I pick a rock and some of the water, tack sharp shots. I was very happy with the results. When on my website, you'll see that picture of the tripod with that big lens. When the lady from FotoPro that I work with saw it, she asked me to use that picture. They just did a story using it, and the pictures I got as a result of it. So Tim asked me what rotator. Here, let me put his question up here. What rotator do I use for longer wildlife lens? I don't want one on there. I hand hold 100% of the time. I suppose. So let me say this. The only time I use a tripod for wildlife photography is if I'm sitting in a blind, just to give my arms a rest. So let's do an experiment. Okay. I have not tried this. But let's try putting the big lens. Now, I wouldn't shoot with the OM3 for wildlife. Let's see if you need the X75 or if you should go to the X95 for wildlife. Because if you are using a tripod with it, it would certainly be helpful. Mother God, where's my red? Oh, there we go. Let's see. Here's the test. Uh-oh. Okay. So it does not work with the 150 to 400. Okay. I did not have this on the other day in Yellowstone. I cannot mount I got to be careful. I don't want to drop my gear. It's hitting right there. I don't know if the X95 is big enough, but what I'll probably do is I'll probably order one just so I can test and see if it works. Okay. So right now, what we just learned, you know what? That's with the OM3 too, guys. I will check that I'll put it on a Mark II, OM1 Mark II. I don't think it'll work with that either because of what it was hitting. Oh, hold on. I bet this will work with a Mark II with a grip because that would move this further from the lens. Okay. So before you buy something, Tim, for wildlife for that, let me put this on an OM1 Mark II that is gripped. I'll do it both gripped and ungripped, and I'll put the big lenses on there and I'll see if it'll work. So if you guys were thinking about one of these for the bigger lenses, don't do that yet. Let me test it. Okay. What is on the foot of my big lens? Okay. So Matt, who is in my mentorship program, 3D prints these. He sent me the newer one. I actually like the older one. I like the shape and the size a little better. We're going to be selling that through my website, and it's a grip, and I love it. That way, instead of holding just this, I hold this. My Birds in Flight group came up with a nickname for this Lee's ball sack, which is not as appropriate as grip, but it is unbelievable. So I need to get that listed on my website, and Matt's been sending me messages. I've been doing so much work on my website. I got to get it up, but it's 3D printed. It's very light, and boom, it makes holding that big lens much better. The one he made for the 150 to 400 does not work for the 50 to 200. It'll rub. It's too close to here. So no, if you have a 50 to 200, you don't want to get it yet. I don't know if he's going to make one for the 50 to 200. Probably not, but that's something I would say wait for. Okay, if I'll get it on my lens on my website soon. I'll tell you another good lens for. There are two lenses I like that are very small, and I highly recommend. Do I know if Lens Coat or another vendor has a camo cover for the new? Lens Coat sucks. Their quality plummeted. I will never buy another Lens Coat product as long as I live. I started getting mold under it. It started fraying. $100 something that frays. So no, I will not use, nor can I recommend Lens Coat. Y'all may like it. I will never, ever put that crap on my camera again. I do like Alpha Guard. It's ALPHAGVRD, I believe. I love their lens wraps. You may think it doesn't provide as much protection. I've been using one on the 150 to 400 for a while. Our Lens Coat's on my Christmas list. I will never put Lens Coat. You will never see it in a post. You will not see it on my website. I cannot recommend that to y'all. Just a giant piece of crap. They fray. The plastic that goes over. I got a new 150 to 400. They sent me another one. I got mold on my switches from that stupid plastic cover. Bunch of crap. You will never see Lens Coat stuff on any of my products ever. Can't recommend them. Won't use them. You'll regret spending that money, is my opinion. So, that's me. I will never. And I used them on Canon. They sold out And once they sold, if you want to buy something for $100 that starts fraying and coming apart quick and creates mold, perfect for your stocking stuffer this year. Okay. If you want a small compact lens, there are two lenses I absolutely love, the 17 1.8 and the 12 2.0. The 12 2.0 is a great, if you want to do a little night sky, but you don't want to buy the 714 and spend that much money. You don't want to buy the 8 1.8, which is a lot of money. The 12 2.0 and the 17 1.8 are about the same size. Tiny. There's my palm, okay? The 17 1.8, 35 millimeter is a great focal length for panoramics. So both lenses are great street photography lens. You put this on an OM3 and you can stick that in your pocket, no problem, you know? And so I really recommend the 12 2.0, the 17 1.8. I've shot them both. I love them both. Super small, very lightweight, and both relatively inexpensive. I have links on my website. The 12 2.0, if you find a good used lens, it's going to be very cheap, probably under $250 or cheaper, because it's not much more than that new. Okay, so there's your two small lenses that you could ask, friends and family for. Another great item to ask for is the Think Tank. They have the Vision 15, 13, and I think 10. So this will hold I think up to a 15-inch or 16-inch laptop. And it's also got space for, you have dividers. So you can put camera gear in here. Plus I put two laptops, pouches for your passport, for pens, batteries, whatever. And then there's a pouch back here that has stuff on the back, water bottle holder. And this slides over the handle on my Think Tank Airport Roller Derby too. I can carry a lot of stuff with both of these bags. So that is the Think Tank Vision. I do have a link for those on there. Why not have a computer bag that also holds camera lenses and camera gear? All right. I think the last item I would say is, here's your big Christmas ask, the 50 to 200. I am loving this lens. And what I would add, and I don't know if I have these on there yet. I don't have an affiliate link. Doesn't matter. I'll put it up there. The Zemlin lens caps. This guy prints nice, deep lens caps. This is not as deep as the one 50 to 400 lens, which obviously it's a smaller lens. But I like it better than the one that came with it. It's thicker. It is better built, and it's deeper. So with gloves, much easier. So that is Zemlin. Z-E-M. Here, let me type that in the Zemlin lens caps. He makes them in various millimeter sizes and very good quality lens caps. All right, so that's Christmas coming up. Hopefully there's some good ideas in there. If you go to the buy gear link on my webpage, I have all of that stuff in there that I think will help a lot. Now, I will say that the Art Filter 10-2 is become a favorite of mine for a variety of reasons. When I was doing my 2-week Grand Teton Yellowstone OM only workshop back in late September, early October, I started playing around, experimenting, and I found out that you could turn on the live neutral density filter with the Art Filter 10. Does it work with all the art filters? Honestly, I don't know. I don't like a lot of the other ones. They're not photography, in my opinion. They're graphic illustration. If you like them, great, awesome, have a ball. But what I know is Art Filter 10-2. I love the black and white. The color one I like, not as much as the black and white one. What I found was when I adjust the live neutral density filter, I could get looks that I could not get without using it. That surprised me. One of my favorite images from this year, and you guys have probably seen this. I think I even showed it in the last live. So I'm a little. Let me see if I've got it quickly here. I absolutely love. There's several of these waterfall lens images, and I don't have any images of my own on my wall right now, just for a variety of reasons. I have too much art from other people. But let me share this image if I can. Share my screen. And screen. Let me see if it's going to let me pick my screen. Here we go. Oh, come on. What a pain. Okay, window. Here we go. All right, let me share this. The art filters are on many of the bodies. OM1s, both 1 and 2, OM3, OM5s. They're even on the OMD EM10 Mark IV. Yeah, they're on quite a few of them. So here's an image, okay, that you can see with, oops, sorry. Here's an image you can see. That is taken with the 150 to 400 on the travel tripod. And that's a 60-second exposure. And I could only get that nice contrast, the super black, the super white, using live neutral density filter 64. If I got to the same exposure with a combination of ISO, shutter speed, and aperture, it did not look the same. I don't know exactly how that art filter works, okay? And I don't know why I couldn't get it to replicate, but what I know is I can only get certain looks with certain combinations. So experiment, experiment, experiment. Don't rush. I was so happy that I had the group I had on that workshop. They were all, I taught them how to be patient. They were, and honestly, I got some of my favorite waterfall shots ever. I decided to focus on micro waterfall shots. I tend to think about the whole thing, but that often is not conducive. This is probably 3% of the entire waterfall. Love that shot right there. Okay. Love that. That's, again, 3%. So this waterfall, this is a part of that waterfall. This is near the top. That's near the bottom. Okay. So one of the things I recommend, this is at Firehole Canyon. Oops, that's not. This is at Firehole Canyon. Tiny percent of the waterfall. Love this shot. I love how different this rock is from this one. I mean, that one, these are probably all, the ones I just showed you, some of them will probably get printed on acrylic, and they'll probably be some of my only images hanging on my wall. Okay. So what I want you to know is Art Filter 10 is really helpful with scenes that would otherwise be ugly. For example, I think I've got Lightroom open here. I want to show you how different. I don't know if some of y'all may have seen my image of Old Faithful, and where it was a long exposure in black and white. Now, if you Google Old Faithful images, most of them suck. Most of them are midday, harsh light, boring as hell. I mean, just Google Old Faithful photos or images, and you watch and see what pops up. And I promise, I think you'll quickly be bored of most of what you see. Sneaking in here and there are going to be an occasional mildly interesting image. Okay, great. Now I don't see. I'm trying to find. I've been moving a lot of my images around, and now I just have to figure out where, because I'm moving them to these smaller drives. Well, that'll make you a little nervous when you don't see one of your workshops. I probably just dropped it in the wrong place. I'm hoping. Let's see. That's January. Crap. Oh, well. I don't want to waste too much of y'all's time here. Yeah, that has me a little nervous. Yeah, I still got to get familiar with my that was 2024. Oh, well. Here we go. I found it. Okay. Let me show y'all the difference that Art Filter 10 made from one boring crap image to something that I really love. And Old Faithful in the winter on an overcast day, just forget it. If you shoot that normal, you are going to be bored out of your gourd. So let me filter here and find the. I had a hard time yesterday finding the actual image I shared. I cannot remember. I think it's this one. We'll go with this one anyways. Okay. All right. Let me do my screen sharing my screen window here. All right. Now, first off, there is Art Filter 10. This is the raw file, which I haven't edited because it'd be boring as crap to me. Look at the difference. That is dramatic, moody. That could maybe be made dramatic and moody in post-processing, but what a difference. What a difference, Art Filter 10, right? Okay. I just love that. I love that. It's different. You won't see that kind of shot in a Google search for art filter, for Old Faithful. You see your standard snapshot, middle of the day, boring. I don't like capturing shots that everybody else is doing. It gets lost in the tidal wave, right? This is where experimenting. So if you go somewhere, just slow down. Take the time to experiment. Don't worry about rushing to the next hot spot in the national park. Work a scene until you can truly say you've exhausted all the different opportunities. Y'all know how much I hate the phrase, I think I got that. No, you probably didn't. Depends on what you're talking about. If you mean an action sequence of two birds fighting, well, if you got that, cool. But is that all you can capture of that area? Are there not other wildlife subjects? Most time I find people say that they're just ready to move on. For what reason? Did you really work the scene? Now, occasionally, yeah, there's not much more to do that. Tim mentioned the art bracketing. I know that. That is a good idea to do. It will show you what all the filters do in one shot. That is a good idea, Tim. So for those of you that have not used an art filter, Tim has a really good point here. If you do art bracketing, it will take the same picture with all the different art filters, and then you can learn what you like. The problem is too with different scenes, so you should do it more than once. So that is a good tip, Tim. I don't use it because I know the ones I like, but I will say if you've never messed around with them, that's a really good idea. That's a good idea, Tim. Thank you for that suggestion. That is a good idea. And I'm going to add a video on the art filters to my mentorship program because I'm using some of them. And honestly, you can use it to make shots that you wouldn't otherwise take. Like, you would never see me share that raw file shot it's boring. Blah, 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 blah. Also, when using art filter 10, number 2, I don't worry about whether or not I'm properly exposing my image because I'm going for a look. So the histogram and the highlights for the raw file are different than what you see in the art filter. I don't worry about that. I can tell if I'm messing something up in the art filter. So your raw file may be overexposed, but if the JPEG is what you want, go with that. So that's a time where I say I don't worry about exposing to the right. You expose for the shot you want with the art filters. It's a different world. It's very different than shooting a straight raw file. So I think that's an important distinction to keep in mind. Okay. Those were the items I had set aside to talk about today. Let me have a sip of my coffee here. Now, I know some of y'all may have posted questions on some YouTubes. I have not had time to get to that. I'm so sorry. I've been just overwhelmed to trying to get my own tour company going, get things in place, work on OM System Mentorship Part 3. I have not had time to get in there, and I apologize for that because your comments and your questions are important. So now's the time for open Q&A that I think is very valuable. So you guys can ask me anything, OM, any other camera brand, anything nature photography. What would you like to learn? What have you been struggling with? What do you have an upcoming trip where you could use some tips for a certain area? Lehoy custom insulated coffee travel mug. Here I have been asked about this, about T-shirts with my some of my sayings on it, like don't crop the crap. A vertical subject often warrants a vertical composition. I do want to do that, but I also want it to be good quality T-shirts. Like, I hate getting T-shirts that are so thin, they shrink a full size, and they itch like hell when you get them. So I just need to find someone that will actually have a quality T-shirt. I don't want to do it just to make money. I don't wear T-shirts much. And when I do, by God, they better be soft. And I don't want them to have 87 washings to be soft. I want them to be soft. I want them to be good quality. I don't want them to shrink like crazy. And I want the process to be easy. It's got to be something where you would just click, order, and I know you're getting a good quality T-shirt. I'm not shipping or fulfilling the order. I don't know if Etsy, I don't know a company. I need to find somebody that does that really well. But yes, I would like that. Yeah, here's a good question, James. Do my 50 to 200, 150, 400 both fit in my Think Tank roller bag? Great question. Yes. So here is my 150 to 400 slot. Here is my 50 to 200. I can put gripped OM1s or Mark IIs. The OM3 actually slide. Hold on, let me hide the comment because I'm not. My OM3 slides in here. Okay, batteries, other lenses, and then my recharge bag goes on top of something. My camera strap goes in here. This is the version 2. Oh, I know something I was going to do. I have this is a brand new, is nearly a $400 camera bag. So I have one where it's an old, I think it's version 1. I have one where the wheels probably need to be cleaned. I don't know. I don't have time. Sometimes the wheels get a little, they won't always roll straight. They'll roll straight, but they're a little womper at times. I don't have time to fiddle fart around with it. So if anybody would like about what was a $400 camera bag and its stitching's fine, everything's fine, I will sell it for $125, and much of that probably will go to shipping. So if anybody wants one and you don't want to spend $400 on a new one, $125, I'll ship it to you. That may take it may cost half of that or more to ship it. So I don't want to get rid of it because somebody out there who's got the time can probably take those wheels off and clean them or work on it. What bag do I take out in the field? Usually what I do is I use my f-stop camera backpacks. I don't have those on there yet. I want to talk to them about being an affiliate. I need to get my Think Tank affiliate set up. I haven't done that yet. F-stop, if I'm going to backpack, or I don't carry stuff a lot in backpacks, camera backpacks, but if I do, it's an f-stop. I have a small one and a big one. The big one is super long hiking. The smaller one, which I think is the 30 liter, maybe 28 or something, that's smaller, and that's what I'm going to throw stuff in. I do not like traveling on air with a backpack. I don't like lenses hanging out of the thing. I just hate that crap. I don't like that. So I only take a backpack, like maybe on an African safari where putting it in the plane is easier. I much prefer my roller bag. So if I'm going any distance from the car, it's normally the 30 liter or the smaller f-stop camera bag with the slide in pouches. That's my go-to. It's good, durable quality. I lay it down on cactus. I lay it down on stuff like that. So see you later, Dwayne. Thanks for joining me, bud. Straps for carrying the lens. What is the, okay. Are you talking about these? These are Black Rapid. I have this on my website under Buy Gear. Black Rapid straps with a Kirk Enterprise quick. This is called an Arca Swiss clamp. It's the small one. Okay. Go under Buy Gear on lehoyphotography.com and look under my Black Rapid section. I think I have that, but I'll double check and make sure when I'm done. Really stupid question. I can never get my SD cards to stay in place in my pellet case. I push them in hard. I have found that to be the case at times for any of the cases I've bought. I don't know. I haven't found one that holds them in perfectly all the time. So I agree when they get jostled around. I suppose the one Nomadic, I should try this. Nomadic, I think, makes an SD card holder. I should try that. I should try that one for y'all and see. I'll try to order that and test it and see. I agree. It does slide around. The nice thing about the Pelican case, though, is it's waterproof. It's crap's not getting in there. The Nomadic, I had this on me. I had salt water getting this in the glop because I probably laid down in the surf, and it corroded some of my batteries. So this is not waterproof. It's water resistant, but not waterproof. So you do want to make, you do want to be cautious with that. Okay. Brandon, you with the camera bag? Okay, bud. We'll work that out. No problem. Okay. All right. What other questions you guys have about? Oh, another thing I would sell. I just thought about this. I bought this because it's more accurate. This is a Wacom medium tablet for post processing. I don't have the time. I just don't have the time. This is a Wacom medium tablet. I know it works. It's got the pen. For those of you that if anybody would like to try this for post processing, I paid around $260 or something. I'll sell this for $100 ship. Never used. I mean, I tested it once. Wacom medium tablet. It's just sitting here gathering dust at my house for no point. So if someone wants a Wacom tablet to try, let me know. Happy to ship that to you. TSA and airlines are issuing strict carry-on requirements. Well, they're going to have to take photographers into account. I mean, they just can't. They're going to have to. They're going to have to really get reasonable with that stuff. Power banks are not the problem everybody makes out to be. I mean, the thing is, that's probably one of those things where 7 things cause an issue. Again, you don't want to be on the plane if it's on fire in the bottom, but I don't know. Probably because people are buying cheaper Chinese crap that's not lasting as well, Yeah. Well, we'll see, man. Because if they don't, then they're gonna have to start protecting gear better. They can't just throw crap. They cannot have people flying with valuable stuff and just say, well, sorry, this is what we're going to do, or it'll kill a lot of tourism. So, oh God, as a libertarian, don't get me started on the government. Either side, don't get me going. I'll get on a rant about the stupidity that I saw working in it in most depressing times of my life. We're working in government. So, and dealing with them as I'm trying to do. There's another reason I'm doing more international tours. If you've ever tried to work with the National Park Service, how much money they take. So not only do you have to pay for your permits, you have to pay them 3% of your gross. They tried to take money that I collected for hotels, and I said, that's not income. I cannot begin to explain to you what a nightmare it is dealing with the National Park Service. And I'm talking for many years, not recent. I'm talking for a long time. They don't care if you can make a living. They think you're becoming a millionaire. I cannot explain to you what an absolute nightmare it is to work in a national park, national wildlife, anything. National Forest Service is worse. So if y'all wonder why I'm not doing as much in America, it's because they're an absolute nightmare. It's so hard to make a living. It's so hard to make a living doing it here in America only. So you'll see. You're not going to. If one of y'all asked me to do a private tour to Utah national parks, you're going to pay me well for the nightmare of dealing with that. Oh my God, hate it. I will go to Yellowstone and Grand Teton in winter and in fall occasionally because it's worth putting up for it. I'll do Big Bend because it's my favorite park, my home park. I will do Badlands probably in a couple of places. I'm going to do a Mastering Your Gear workshop up in probably a 10-day type thing up in the Badlands, Black Hills. I've been doing Grand Teton and Yellowstone, but the lodging is so expensive. It makes the trip very expensive for people because of the lodging. So know that I try to keep taking into account, like my Grand India workshop. If any of y'all hopped over there to look at that, you're going to look at the pricing and think that's a lot of money. That is about the same amount of money that Munch Workshops charges for a trip that is, I believe, less than half the length. So when y'all price compare trips, make sure you're looking at the number of days, the number of photographers per vehicle. My pricing compared to what Munch offers, you're getting a lot more days in the field. Yeah, it's not a cheap trip, but it's a 20-something day trip to India. But if you look at what you get compared to some of the others, so make sure you price compare reasonably. It will be a phenomenal trip. And they're not doing videos beforehand to teach you skills. They're not doing post-processing teaching probably in the middle of the day. So be sure to look at those kind of things. Well, guys, I know we're coming up on an hour and a half, and God bless you. Y'all listen to me enough as it is. I want to tell you, in my newsletter that went out this morning, and if you haven't signed up for my newsletter, please do. I really, I try to keep it short, put in useful information. I've got quite a few Black Friday deals in there today, and I've got a couple of discount codes for my South Texas workshops. So if you sign up, I think in the next week, if you do my Mastering Burden Flight or the Intro to Macro, you can save $200 on a relatively inexpensive workshop to begin. So if you don't sign up for that, but my article in there is about gratitude. I'm so grateful for y'all. I get to do what I love. I get to be what I love. I get to pursue what I love, because without y'all, that wouldn't be the case, would not be the case. So I know I'm a hard ass at times, and I'm a rough critic, and I'm all these things, but I also am extremely grateful for each of you who participate in workshops, watch my YouTube, buy through my affiliate links, come on, do the mentorship program. Thank all of you. I hope you have a great, blessed Thanksgiving. I'm actually going to be at my house. My aunt's coming up. So it'll be the first time anybody's come up here for Thanksgiving. So I'm looking forward to that. You guys be safe, especially if you're traveling. If you're on the roads, if you're getting in the airports this Thanksgiving holiday, be alert, be attentive, travel safely and wisely. Protect your camera gear and your hard drives and your laptops. Y'all have a good Thanksgiving. I will see you in December for my next YouTube Live. I appreciate you guys. Bye-bye.